Welcome to Burning Love Podcast.
Woo, woo, woo.
My name is Aluna Lua. I am your host, and we're here to share love stories for the psychedelic community.
Yes, we are.
And if you're a burner, you're going to love over here. And even if you're not a burner, in your heart, somehow you end up in this conversation. And today I have a burning love story to share with my dear brother, Jake.
Yes.
Which I give him a playa name, Jake Michael.
Jake Michael.
Because Michael brought us here. So this is an honor and mission to share stories that really bring strength, courage, integrity, and purpose to your heart. So thank you, Jake Michael.
Thank you.
It is such a pleasure, my dear, to have you here and to even this be a graduation of this mentorship container that we're in, the Ascension Academy.
Yes. Oh my goodness, it's so exciting.
Oh my God. So we're celebrating big time here. And the reason I want you to hear Jake's stories is because it is such an inspiration of a divine, magical soul that is truly on the path of self-mastery.
Yeah.
And especially with so much love in your heart.
Lots and lots.
And you're such a dear friend to me and to so many people.
Thank you.
And you have so much wisdom to share with us for us to really embody our higher selves.
Yeah.
So, Jake, I would love for you to say hi and to share a little bit about our story.
Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah. Well, hello everyone. I'm so honored and stoked to be here. Lua, I love you so much. I'm so, in awe of this opportunity of being able to be here and to connect with you and connect in this space and to really drop into all that we've been processing and transmuting and to show up in a way that is just such a beautiful moment, an opportunity to exchange and an opportunity to hopefully put some vibes out there into the world that might be of support to anyone who comes along. So thank you, listener, for being here, for your attention, your support, your love, and your receptivity. Hopefully you find something valuable about this experience, as I know that we will. And yeah, I'm like so in awe of our meeting at Burning Man. It was such an example of the incredible magic and serendipity of life and reality. Ended up in such a strange and challenging circumstance with a dose of acid that was unexpectedly large for myself and a close friend of mine, and ended up being in a supportive role for her and then taking her to Zendo, where we met you. And you were just such an example of a beautiful supportive presence in a moment of difficulty. You really helped my friend to move through what she was moving through, and then you supported me in a whole process. So yeah, getting to know you in that way was so special. And then, the depths that have unfolded through that have just been absolutely transformative.
Oh my God. We have been sharing so much transformation. And I love that we have that story, because that evening, like if you ever had a trip with LSD, that suddenly you're talking with a person for 12 hours and really feel the presence of a good space holder.
Yeah. Oh
and to
gosh.
have that connection is forever.
Yes, invaluable.
So I love the people that I got to know in these psychedelic wild spaces.
Same.
And we're just going to jump right in why we're here. And Jake is such a perfect mix between a science boy that loves to discover the world and the truth that we live in, and put so much time and effort into reflection, which I love that about you.
Thank you.
And also brings a really spiritual heart that is so open to receive more love in your heart and more of spirit in your heart. And also an interesting character that brings so much embodiment and peace with your presence.
Thank you. Wow.
And we talk a lot about presence in psychedelic spaces and space holding.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love the path that you walk in regards to discovering your body
Yeah.
and how to use your body as a technology to navigate this life.
So fundamental.
So I think Jake has so much inspiration for folks out there that might resonate with that. And I want to start with you, Jake, just telling a little bit about yourself to really relate to our audience that will understand like what really happened to you that changed.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you for all those words. Yeah, I'm super, super grateful for that reflection. And yeah, just feel so blessed to be in a position of having traversed so much in life and so little at the same time. It's yeah, profound how much there is to learn. And yeah, I would love to share a little bit about my journey and my experience on this road of exploration. Yeah, so I was raised in a Christian context. I was raised actually in like a Presbyterian church, and so I spent a lot of my early life in church and with community in church, and it was a really valuable part of my life because it connected me to the importance of community. It connected me to the importance of service, you know, dropping into these experiences very, very early on of being able to be in a position of service, of volunteering at homeless shelters, and of being in a way where I can expand beyond myself and to connect to something larger than myself, which I think is such an important part of religion and spirituality more broadly. And yeah, I think that that context was a great foundation for my spirituality. But I've gone through all sorts of experiences in life that have called me beyond that context, and I'm happy to share
Yeah, we
more
were
about that
talking
too.
about the story that you found your body wisdom
Yeah.
and how the whole Christian background also was a pivoting point for your life there. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of folks resonate with that.
Yeah, yeah, I hope and expect so. Yeah, this was a moment in my life that was a really good starting point and a window into what the body speaks in a moment to moment basis. And yeah, I was in this really interesting opportunity in life where I had reached the point in my church where I was invited to do a confirmation ceremony. And that's a ceremony where, as a child, you're baptized and then you grow up and you have this opportunity during confirmation to say, yes, I affirm my faith. I choose to be a Christian. It's not something that was just given to me. And being so connected to the community of this church, I was enthusiastic and I rushed into this opportunity with so much joy. And I found myself in this really fascinating position where I got up in front of the congregation and I was sharing, and I moved into this opportunity to say, yes, I affirm my faith. And as I started to do that, I noticed a contraction.
How old were you?
I was 14 years old.
Okay,
Yeah,
14 years
I was
old.
14 years old. I noticed a contraction in my body, a sort of fear or some kind of internal no that was happening in that moment. And it took the intensity of that container to really bring that out of me. And upon reflection, what I realized was that there was an aspect of my faith that didn't feel so deeply rooted. I felt, actually, wait a second, this has been given to me from the outside to a large extent, right? What if I had been raised in another family? What if I had been raised Jewish or Muslim or whatever it may be? And I had this brilliant idea to do a little tour around the world religions and just to check in with some of the other ones. And if I came back to Christianity, then I would be a better Christian for it, right? I'd be all stoked and grounded in it. And well, the trajectory didn't go quite as I anticipated or planned, but I do remember just how grateful I was for that moment of awareness in my body, of feeling that the words I was speaking weren't in full alignment with what I was feeling at the time. And it was an invitation for reflection and a sort of first step into the world of body awareness and somatics.
So you feel a disconnection between your body and your mind for the first time.
Yeah, exactly. That dissonance became really clear in that moment.
Yes, that's a big one. And I think that really turns into the aspect of being in the mind.
Yes.
And someone like you that likes science and philosophy and
Mm-hmm.
so many things that you like to reflect on, to be lost in the mind
Mm.
and not connected to the body.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's such a challenge, and that's
Tell
been
me
a
a
big.
little bit about your career. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I work in a very deeply technological space. I am a machine learning researcher, and I've been deep into material science, for example. Working at the intersection between these cutting edge technologies and physics, fundamental physics, trying to design new materials at the atomic scale and cultivate methods of generating novel capacities in this world so we can have cleaner energy and better solutions to some of the challenges we're facing. Yeah, I'm definitely steeped in the intellectual spaces at this point, and find so much value and beauty in that. But as you pointed out, there can be imbalances that arise in there as well.
yeah, and I think that's why this conversation is so important, Jake, because I think that you're a perfect testimony that you can bridge the tech world and technology and science with spirituality
Yeah.
and with the grounded physical
Mm,
experience of
yeah.
this life, because I think folks in this realm tend to be so in the mind
Yeah.
that forgets to live in the body.
Oh my gosh, it's so real.
Yeah, so in other words, you came from being a science Christian boy
Yeah.
to a place of curious explorer.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
exactly.
after you had that experience and you felt this call to travel to yeah, discover other spiritual traditions,
Mm.
what really happened there for you?
Yeah, I mean, you really nailed it with the curious explorer. That is a phase that I stepped into in such a deep way of departing from this container of Christianity and starting to open my eyes and look out into the world and realize, wow, there's so many different ways to see the world. There's so many different frameworks, so many different mythologies. And I entered into this phase of my life of exploration of these different traditions. And I came very early on in that journey across Buddhism. And Buddhism hit me in such a good and deep way, and in particular Zen Buddhism at the time. And what I loved about it was the simplicity of it, is that it's not a tradition that tells you this is the way it is. It's a tradition that gives you a practice to explore that question for yourself, to sit down in silence and to actually make direct observations about what's going on. What am I feeling in my body? What is my mind chattering about? You know?
Like to
And
be your own
exactly,
scientist.
exactly. And that's what I love so much about it, was that it is a scientific method. It's a way of setting up an experiment, making an observation, and then learning something about the world, right? Because I'm part of the world, and my internal experience is just as important, if not more important, right, than the objects that are moving around outside of me. So, yeah, that connection got bridged really early on. And so I was in this phase of, yeah, reading more about science and being drawn into that space more with physics, and then also getting into philosophy, Eastern and Western philosophies, falling in love with Buddhism on both the intellectual level as well, the philosophical level, but then dropping into these practices that started to show me a new way of investigation, right? A new way of engaging with this feeling of curiosity, this feeling of what is going on here, like, man, reality is strange and mysterious. And so I feel, yeah, super grateful to be coming from those different perspectives.
I love talking with Jake about life because we get to be like, yeah, life is
It's really
crazy.
wild, right? It's like, does anyone else notice? You notice how wild it is,
It's like,
man?
what's going on?
What is going on here? Yeah, it's the forever
I
psychedelic.
love that we got to tap into that, and also weaving the medicines, how
Yeah.
LSD is
Oof.
really like a
Yeah.
breakthrough in so many people's lives,
Yeah.
and that it is a breakthrough of us being here
Yeah. Our
too.
friendship.
And
Yeah.
then also cannabis,
Yeah.
which is seen as this bridge for the drugs world.
Right.
And it
Right.
is a
The gateway
bridge. It's
drug.
actually
Yeah.
a
It is a
huge
gateway.
bridge of consciousness.
The gateway to
And I
something.
know
Yeah.
that, part of your life too. So, love for you to share a little bit about how plant medicines made you woke up from this science Christian boy to exploring being your own scientist and
Yeah.
through led by curiosity, which is such a theme of Burning Man,
Yeah.
the curiouser.
Mm. Yeah, Curiouser and Curiouser was the theme of the year that we went together, which I
Nice.
love. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, that, right?
Of course. Of
Of
course.
course, yeah. Yeah, oh my gosh, the plant medicines, acid, mushrooms, yeah, all these experiences, and yeah, starting early on with cannabis, the way that that came into my life, and really having this profound like smack in the face of whoa, like my perception can change, it can alter, that's just before you experience that, you can't comprehend it. It's not an intellectual thing, and that's what's so beautiful and important about these experiential explorations, is that you can't mimic direct experience, right? And so some of these early experiences I had with cannabis really opened my eyes and my heart and my mind to this reality that the way that I perceive the world is a big factor in what shows up in my life, right? The way that I perceive what's going on affects my experience so fundamentally. And it's not that it's always some objective truth that I need to like latch onto, but I need to be self aware of how am I bringing something into this situation? What is my story here? And getting into that exploration of what can be true about the stories I tell and what can be false about the stories I tell as well.
I love that. Yes. Viva Santa Maria.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
yeah, getting your world completely shaked away, especially if you've been in the mind and an intellectual world your whole life, getting out of that and really seeing the world from a spiritual perspective
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is such a big deal.
Huge.
And I know that there's so much struggles
Oh my gosh.
into that process.
Yeah.
So I know that for you to even feeling comfortable speaking here right now, there is also the breakthroughs and the challenges that we all went through. So I would love for you to share, Jake Michael, about especially regards to social anxiety. I think that's such a common theme
Yeah.
in intellectual people in general and tech
Mm-hmm.
people and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of males and women. It's like, I'd love for you to share your journey with that.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Wow. It is a long one for me. Yeah. I spent a lot of my life really deep in the throes of anxiety of various flavors. So, social anxiety is really just one of them, but it's one of the most salient ones in my life. Yeah, and it's just like a combination of so many things. Part of it is that deep recognition of the strangeness of reality and this feeling of aloneness in that recognition, where I'm like in these social contexts and everyone's just like, yeah, how was your day? I'm like going to the park and like hanging with my dog. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But like, what the fuck, And like not necessarily having a lot of community to drop into those levels with. And so feeling like in these social environments where I was a very high functioning socially anxious person, so I would be in a social environment and I would be engaging with people and feeling really quite tense inside, but from the outside everyone's like, wow, you're so easy to be around, you're so fun to hang out with. And there's a loneliness in that as well, of like really feeling like I was traversing those spaces on my own, of feeling small, of feeling afraid to express myself naturally, and feeling like I might not be accepted if I do open up into all of my strangeness, right? And also this like empathy that I feel. I'm such an empathetic person, as many of you are, and that feeling of being in a room and feeling the emotions of the people around me and being like, wow, people are going through some shit, and like that feeling of, oh my gosh, this social engagement is kind of threatening to me because I'm giving up my autonomy. When I'm on my own in my own space, I can feel what I'm feeling, and sometimes that's going to be joy, sometimes that's going to be sadness, sometimes love, fear, whatever it is, but that's my thing and I can move through it how I need to. And I find that to be super easeful in comparison. But then going into a social environment and looking around and not having the tools yet to navigate my own space and to create a sort of energetic separation between my own emotional experience and the experience of those around me, and feeling like, oof, this is overwhelming. I am like properly overwhelmed right
Can
now.
you share me like what you experience like inside when you're
Yeah,
socially anxious?
totally. Yeah. So the experience will be something like a feeling of like kind of tunnel vision. So my vision of the world starts to get constrained. I get less connected to the space around me and start to feel a deep contraction in my chest, especially in my chest, like a really tight feeling of like pain sometimes like very sharp pain actually in the chest. And then a feeling of like kind of spaciness, dizziness. We'll get to start having like sweaty palms and maybe kind of shaky, jittery, and generally just kind of like lightheaded, floaty, not grounded, not feeling like at ease in my body at all.
Right. So you're basically saying like you don't feel like home in your own body.
That's it. That's it.
And comment here for us if you have experienced that, not feeling home in your body.
Yeah.
That's such a thing about the human existence.
Yeah.
And the loneliness is also such a big thing
Mm.
where we know we're going to die alone anyway. It's like there
Thanks
is
for that.
still
Yep.
such a piece, such a piece of understanding of what that connectiveness
Yeah.
of ourselves, our ego, and our lives. What happened, Jake? Like, what can be really the moment for you that you realized that something needed to change?
Yeah.
Because that's what happens in life, too. It's like there's always a push.
Yeah.
God will push us out of the comfort zone to really do the work that we are avoiding to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I did get a push in my life. And the experience with anxiety was something that built up over so many years. You know, it's just such exhaustion, you know, a feeling of exasperation at like, is this going to be my experience of being around other people? Like, I want to feel at ease. And I had like my inner circle, right? My close friends, the people around me who I did feel at ease with. But I was feeling really overwhelmed with that in general and kind of disheartened. And then I was also working this job, this technology job that was super interesting, super intellectually engaging, super satisfying on the intellectual plane. And I was getting paid really well. It was remote, so I was able to move around. And then I got laid off, right? And I had this moment, this sort of crossroads in life of how am I going to engage in this opportunity, right? Because it is an opportunity and there's so much pressure, and I felt so much pressure to like quick jump into the next thing. And even as it was approaching, because I kind of saw warning signs, I have people advising me like, man, you better start applying to jobs and like make sure you have something lined up. It's harder to get a job when you're unemployed. And I decided after some deep reflection that this was a moment to invest in myself, right? In a way that I feel like can be construed as selfish in our society, to invest in ourselves, to care for ourselves, to spend money on things that are important to us. And what I've come to realize is that that's really the biggest gift I can give to the world, right? Is my well-being so that I can have a full cup and I can show up in the world and support others in filling their cup. So essentially, I decided to have a sabbatical, to take a step away from the career path that I was on after maybe 4 or 5 years in this space. And I signed myself up for a Vipassana retreat, which was something I had heard about. I knew it was related to body awareness, but I really had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Before we go to the Vipassana, I want to add to that. This is so good, Jake, because it really shows that wealth is like the Burning Man. When you're a Burning Man, your capital is your energy.
Yeah, exactly.
And the way you co-create your experience with others and the environment. And I think so many people, even if they have a good job and they're making good money and they know there's something more to their lives, they are so stuck in their head and in the stagnation of the system that they need to just continue to hustle so they can get the money, so they can live that future life that they want to live. And that's their life, and just hustle.
Chasing something, yeah.
Yeah, and just being and realizing that money is not the same. Having money doesn't mean being
No,
happy or
no.
to feel fulfilled in life. So I think that's such a good inspiration piece, because it has been a big deal in my life too, learning
Yeah,
from Burning Man of where do I invest my energy.
yeah,
And you get to choose to really sit with yourself and like, okay, instead of moving to the next thing, I'm going to invest my energy and my resources into myself.
yeah, yeah. And I'm so grateful for all the influences in my life that like opened that door and that possibility, because I know it's not open to so many because they haven't seen an example. So my hope is that, yeah, as the ones listening here today, like you'll have maybe a little light bulb turn on of like, there's this possibility to engage in that space in other ways, right? And having financial security, stability is so important, right? Opens up so many foundational things in life. But yeah, starting to connect to that realization that that's an infinite game of just like continuing to try and fill some sense of dissatisfaction by the accumulation of wealth, by the accumulation of material possessions. And the farther along one gets in that, the more frustrating and infuriating and scary and disheartening it can be, because it's like I'm in the right context, right? I have the apartment, I have the nice car, maybe I even have the partner or something like that, and yet to still feel like a hollowness. And I think that's something that so many people experience, is that hollowness in the midst of life circumstances that aren't even necessarily the hard parts, right? And so, yeah, I'm super, super grateful to be continuing along this path of like finding out, what does it mean to feel satisfied? What does it mean to
Mm.
feel satisfied in a moment, in this moment, in a conversation? Like, not getting lost in how is this going to affect the world, or how is my
Mm-hmm.
past creating this, but just to drop into my body and to be grateful for an opportunity to be present in a moment and to navigate that with some sense of fullness.
Yes, so powerful. And to embrace initiations. Burning
Mm.
Man is such an
Yeah, oh my
initiation.
gosh.
However, so many people like, oh, I don't have the money to do this, or this is
Yeah.
privileged to do that. Well, the
Mm.
Vipassana is a perfect example of a
Yes. Oh my gosh.
worldwide initiation
Free.
that will completely change your life. It was literally the hardest thing
It's so
I've ever
challenging.
done, harder than any
Oh my
plant
gosh. Yeah,
medicine, to
talk
be
about, yeah, a
honest.
journey, right? You want to have a psychedelic journey, sit in
And
silence for 10 days.
Jake just got to go just
Yeah.
a few months ago.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to share with us the breakthrough that you got there. That's so inspiring.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, there were many. And yeah, like Lewis said, this is such a challenging experience. But what's so beautiful about it is that it is such a potent medicine, right? And it's like such an important realization. And going back to my experience with Zen, like the power of just sitting still and observing what's going on. It's like that is not a simple, yeah, maybe simple, not easy kind of a thing, right?
And it's truly like, if you don't know Vipassana, it's a 10-day meditation retreat that is free.
It's
Pretty
free.
sure it's
Yeah,
free.
it's free.
You have all over the world.
Yeah,
And in this case, it's really like an ancient tradition
yeah,
to tap into yourself.
yeah.
With plant medicines can open such a doorway for us that really feels like a huge shortcut of life.
Mm,
And Vipassana is such a grounding
mm.
example of
So good.
actually tapping into these spaces and changing yourself
Yeah.
through stillness.
Yeah, and sobriety too, and that's so important. I'm so grateful to the plant medicines, but also recognizing like most of life is sober life, and figuring out how to navigate that in deep and beautiful ways. But yeah, I mean, shout out to Vipassana. If you haven't heard, give it a look up, because it has a very interesting history, very connected to the roots of Buddhism and Buddhist teachings. And but yeah, it's challenging. So know what you're getting yourself into. But yeah, it was profound, Lua. It was completely profound. I had a lot of experience in meditation before that, but this still totally blew me wide open, and I learned so much about myself and so much about my experience of navigating the world. And yeah, one of these moments that stands out, as you ask, is sitting on my cushion in I think day 4, where you really have realized at this point what you're in for. You're meditating like 100% of the time, like seated at meditation 12 hours a day. And then you're just so dropped in and it's so intense, all of these psychological things coming up and all of that. And then you start this aditana sit, which is the sitting of great determination, where you're supposed to make it through the full sit without changing your posture. And oh my
Oh
goodness,
my gosh,
the
hardest
amount
thing in
of
the world.
pain. Yeah, I can't. The amount of physical pain that I experienced. And during that first one, I made it, 10 minutes in, I'm like, oh boy, my right leg is already asleep. Okay, then I'm like 30 minutes in, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I feel so much pain. This is really intense. And I'm like trying to focus on my breathing, going back to the
Because
body
the
scans.
position you were sitting?
Yeah, because of the cross-legged position, exactly. And I've had like issues with my knees as well already. So I was coming into it with this kind of fear of damaging my body. And we got to like minute 45 and I was like, nah, I am done. Like I must be causing long-term damage at this point. Like, I don't know for sure what's going on, but this is excruciating. So
Like, I'm dying,
I'm
okay?
dying. Yeah. And so I changed my posture. I got out of it and oh my gosh, I felt simultaneously amazing and obviously relieved and grateful for for myself for listening to my body, but then also this sense of failure of like this is a warrior practice and I'm like you got to make it through, get through, and I failed that, right? But then I ended up asking for a chair on the back wall with all the, elderly people who aren't capable of sitting in the squishy cushion on the floor. And that was so important to me because on the chair, the beautiful thing was I experienced just as much pain. But now the pain was coming from different sources. It was coming from muscular contractions, right? I have this like forward leaning posture from all the programming and driving and sitting in chairs and stuff. And I was trying to push my body into this upright, air quotes, perfect posture. I was trying to force myself there. And as I would do that, my muscles would yell at me. They would contract and scream. And this incredible sharp pain was developing up here in the traps, right? And then I was like, okay, well, I'm not like damaging my body. So I have an opportunity to experience this pain in deep ways. And what I learned through that experience was that in order to alleviate that cycle of contraction, I had to learn how to accept myself as I was, right? I had to learn how to drop in to my body and to feel that, look, this is my posture right now. And I can have this uplifted intention, but to force myself, to crush myself, to squish myself into this idea of perfection was not only not working, but it was exacerbating all of my suffering, right? And so I relaxed, I had my little hunch, and then little by little, what did I notice? This like internal glow and this internal expansion, this feeling of like the little plant blossoming up out of the soil, and an uprightness emerged into my being, emerged into my posture. But it had to start from this place of self acceptance. And that was really the key takeaway from that particular moment in this sit was that, and it's not my idea, right? This is a core part of many Wisdom traditions and Buddhism for sure. And the teacher was always like saying, reality as it is, not as you would like it to be. And I'm like, okay, Yoda, like, I hear you, I hear you. Yeah, so
I
good.
love that. I think so powerful, Jake, that we get to experience these things through pain. Really sit with our pain. And
Gosh,
what
yeah.
comes up for me is I call it the humble courage, the humble
Yes.
warrior. That the warrior shows up for the battle, but he needs to be humble to
Yeah.
really be a vessel for the work. Is to
Yeah.
tap into that humility.
Sheesh. Well said. I mean, that hits on such an important point. And that was a big piece of learning in Vipassana too, is man, that knocked me on my ass, right? And like, and what I learned through that was that the higher I put myself on this pedestal of I'm such a good experienced meditator, and I'm got so much practice and blah, 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 the farther there is to fall, right? And when I come into that and I trip and I fall on my face and I don't know what's going on, then there's all of that judgment that comes in and says, oh, come on, you should be better, right? Shoulding all over yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that recognition of like, man, and that was really like my first deep experiential relationship with humility, where it had been this intellectual thing where I'm like, yeah, I want to cultivate that more. It's so important. But then I was like, oh, I guess smack yourself on the floor in a fucking pile of mud and that'll do it for you.
So you started your journey from Vipassana, and then you travel all over the
Through
world.
Japan, yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you got back and finished your journey at the Body Bliss, the
Oh
Combo
my
Body
gosh,
Bliss.
jeez Louise. Yeah, infinitely grateful for the life experiences that I've had. And yeah, combo body bliss. I mean, if y'all don't know, could you figure
Which
out?
is
Because
really, yeah, the combo, the medicine of the humble warrior. Holy moly.
yeah, that one will do it for you.
Wow. So I guess here we're really tapping into a new level of faith, Jake.
Yeah.
That is a faith that is more embodied in experience
Mm-hmm.
instead of knowledge in religion.
Yeah, and knowledge in general. And that, thank you, because that to me has been so important in my journey with faith, with spirituality. Is that was one of the big turnoffs with Christianity, was that everyone was like, just have faith, right? It's written in the book. I told it to you. You heard it from the pastor. Just have faith. And I'm like, but what if they're wrong? But what if it's not like that? What if this other person is right or this other tradition is right? And that fear, right? That fear of that possibility. And what I've really been connecting to in my own life experience is faith in not knowing, faith in I don't know. And like, nobody really knows, actually. Like, we're all making this shit up as we go. Like, life is fundamentally mysterious, right? And some of these deep wisdom traditions know that, right? And Wakantanka, right? Having that like great mystery as the name for the all being, or this like expansive space that we're all a part of. Like, it's mysterious. And for me, dropping into a somatic faith of I don't know what's going on, and to have confidence without pride, to have confidence in like, look, I can show up in this moment and I can navigate it however well. And does that mean I'm going to never trip? Nuh-uh. That means I'm going to trip, and I'm going to trip again, and I'm going to trip again, and then I'm going to have an attitude of kindness towards myself, trust in the process, and trust, which is another word for faith, really, of like, can I trust the process? Can I trust that things are unfolding in a way where I'm learning something? I'm learning, I'm growing, and I can continue to show up with that faith, that openness, that release of the need for control.
Yes. The waves of wonder.
Yes, waves of wonder. Wow.
Wow. So this is Jake Michael, new podcast. Okay. The waves of wonder. And really bringing the love for science and spirituality together, which is really what we're talking about.
Yeah.
To navigate the waves of wonder with the sense of awe.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's so exciting. Yeah. Check it out, y'all. I think, yeah, this is an attitude that has been so supportive to me, of wonder, of wow, waves of wonder, right? It's like, what is going on here? And recognizing like, I don't know. I don't know. And to continue to show up with that, I don't know. And yeah, science, spirituality, philosophy, taking psychedelics, plant medicines, taking all of these routes to explore that question on this like infinite path towards truth, but then to never feel like, and then I'll have it and I can hold on to it and then I'll be able to give it to you or not, or like,
or like, you're right and I'm wrong. I'm right and you're wrong.
Exactly. Like, nah.
Yes, totally. And this is really coming up, the understanding of knowing that the body is a technology that we got to experience
the highest technology
together. So I would love for you to share a little bit, Jake, about being like a highly sensitive person, a person that feels all the things at the same time, is in the mind a lot.
Yeah.
And like really what Vipassana as one of the initiations, the Combo Body Bliss as one of the initiations, your connection with Asian culture, as well as, the practices that you've been embodying and really doing the work.
Yeah, the
Which is one thing
somatics.
is to know everything in the mind, which we can learn about anything. The other thing is to actually be into practice.
Yeah, how can I show up on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis in those feelings of crunchiness and inadequacy, and to have a tools to move forwards. Yeah, that language, highly sensitive person, was really important for me when I first heard it. I remember feeling like, oh my gosh, that resonates. Like, there's a group of people and there's like knowledge around this. And like, if that's something that you connect with, like, my gosh, yeah, my guess is that you may have experienced some anxiety as well, because the reality of being very sensitive is that you feel a lot, right? It's like, this is a lot.
And you
What,
make stories about it.
yeah, well, and that's the thing too, is yeah, that connection of being very sensitive and very intellectual, that is a recipe for all sorts of trouble. All sorts of beauty, obviously, as well, but all sorts of difficulty. And yeah, really starting to weave stories of difficulty and suffering, and to fall into this overthinking, and to be in that social environment, and to feel overwhelmed, and to have those contractions, and then to be lost in those spirals. And this goes back to the safety of home in the body. Like, for most of my life, I didn't feel safe in my body. And that's this beautiful feeling of like, of course, I don't want to come home to a house that isn't safe, right? And that's where this like practice starts to move out into the ripples of, to the family, to the home that you live in, to the community of like, how can I create safety, a place that I want to be? And so learning how to cultivate a relationship with my mind where I'm not giving it all of the power to dictate what I feel and believe, right? Because my mind, your mind will say all sorts of gnarly shit. And it's like, if I just buy into all of it, I've realized it's often
It's
horrific.
crazy.
Yeah,
Delusional.
it's like, where did that come from? Why are you saying that? Right? And so to drop down and to hear it, but to not invest my energy of belief into it, and then to move into the somatic space. And that's been so crucial for me, is connecting with mentors, both with you and with mentors who are really specialized in somatic work, to recognize that, yeah, this body is a technology. It's an incredible technology. It's the most incredible technology around, because it's been the source of all the other technology, right?
Yes, and we're tapping into somatics, which really has changed my life over time. I've been to the plant medicine world for so long, and I got into that understanding. What is somatics? And like,
Yeah,
what
what
is
is
even to
that?
feel my feelings?
Yeah, what
Like,
is
I don't know how to
that?
feel my feelings. You're talking
That's
about
so
highly sensitive people. There's also
oh
the
my
other
gosh.
side of like, I don't know. I don't feel anything.
Right. Yeah, I don't feel anything.
And
Really?
I want to bring that concept here because it's really important, even in the plant medicine path and in life in general, is to understand how to tap into our bodies and to use our bodies as a source of wisdom,
Mm,
and to co-create and reprogram our minds
yeah.
into a new way. So I want you to share a little bit of Jake about, what was the name of your other mentor?
Hunter.
Hunter.
Yeah,
I
Hunter
want you to
Torin.
share a little bit about things that you've learned in this path and in these places and practices that you've done, for us to understand. Maybe someone doesn't even understand what is to feel your feelings and how to practice that,
Oh my
and the
gosh, yeah.
benefits
Yeah.
that you have experienced being a person that can be more embodied in the world.
Yeah. Thank you. And yeah, thank you so much to Hunter. Thank you to you, Lua, and to all of the guidance I've had in this space, because it's absolutely fundamental to me. And, one of the things that I learned about somatics in Vipassana was that we hear so often, let it go, right, as a way of navigating the difficulties of life, of like, come on, just shake it off, let it go, move on, let it be as it is. But something that I learned in Vipassana was that I also had to learn how to let it stay, because when a difficult experience is present in my body, when I'm having an emotion that's challenging, it's aggravating, right? And it's like, it agitates me to a point where it's more difficult for me to communicate well with the people I love. It's more difficult for me to complete the tasks that I need to complete in front of me, right?
Because we're waiting it to be over.
Yeah, just like waiting for it to be over, wishing it wasn't happening in the first place, like,
Yes.
get this out of here, get this
Mm-hmm.
over with. And for anyone who's experienced anxiety, you'll know that as soon as you try to get rid of it, it gets worse, right? Because it's like, oh my God, I'm feeling it. Oh my God, now I'm really feeling it. Oh, fuck it. And that's, yeah. If anyone here has had a panic attack, oh my gosh, that is not fun. But it happens, and it happens because of that spiral of denying my experience. So a big foundation of somatics for me is, can I have the courage to feel what I'm feeling? And that takes two layers, right? It takes the layer of, can I perceive what I'm feeling in the first place? And that involves, I need to cultivate some kind of practice of checking in with my body, whether it's a body scan or a deep breath, or just like asking this question, like in this moment, like listening here, like, what do your big toes feel like right now? What does it feel like to have big toes without having to look down at them to confirm their presence, you know? And it's like, at first it might be like, oh, I don't feel anything, but then you can cultivate that. And there's so much subtlety in the sensations we have in our bodies. And we give emotions names like, I'm angry or I'm sad. But in reality, every moment of emotion is unique. There's so much intricacy, and the emotions have patterns. And so my anxiety might be a contraction in the chest. My feeling of ease might be a feeling of spaciousness. I might feel tingles in my hands or whatever. And so starting to explore that in a deeper way of having the clarity to perceive, and then introducing this capacity for equanimity. And that's a big piece of Vipassana, is equanimity. And that's that, let it go, let it stay. If it's pleasant, I'll let it go. That's okay. Because,
So, as we're experiencing these sensations and instead of wanting to change, we're practicing to be with them,
yeah.
what happens then?
Yeah. Well, first, it's empowering, right? Because now it's like I can stand on my own 2 feet in the experience that I'm having, and I can navigate it better now because I'm centered.
You become your own
I
guardian.
become my own guardian.
Love it.
Thank you. Yes. And that's exactly it, is guardianship, right? It's like, in order to become a guardian for the people around me in my life, I need to figure out how to show up for myself, right? In order to sit with a friend who's going through a challenging emotional experience, I need to be able to navigate my own challenging emotional experiences. And that's what I've noticed, is this co-regulation of, like, when I'm going through this experience with someone, oh my gosh, that's bringing this up for me. I'm feeling all sorts of things now. Whoa. And then it's like, can I drop into my own process so that I can remain grounded and centered while I'm present with this person who is desperate for support sometimes, or just would love some, like we all
Yes.
do.
So basically, what I'm hearing is that is the practice of learning how to self-regulate
Yeah. I mean,
and
that's a good way to summarize it.
self-soothe,
Yeah.
which some people only self-soothe and don't co-regulate,
Yeah.
and some people only co-regulate
Yeah.
and don't
And
self-soothe.
that's like the dependence, that comes in.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let us know what is your
Tendency.
route or
Yeah.
tendency. I'm definitely more towards the anxious side of wanting
Mm.
support from something else
Mm.
instead of tapping into myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I would love for you to share more, even like what happens after that then. You're creating these practices for yourself and you're feeling more empowered to
Mm.
hold space for yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the benefit overall? Like, what
Yeah.
have you noticed
Yeah.
practicing that in regards to your connections with others, in regards to stress, in
Mhm.
regards to technology?
Wow. Yeah. All of it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the most important thing that I've noticed in my experience is that I feel more at peace. I feel more at peace with my life experience. I'm more capable of accepting the state of things as they are and moving with them rather than fighting against them. And that is such a gift. Going back to the wealth conversation, like, you could have any number in the bank account, but if you can be at peace, that is a gift, right? That is a gift. And yeah, this connection to my embodiment, I'm like so much more capable of taking care of myself because I can understand and discern what I need. I'm listening to my body in new ways. And then it's like, oh, I'm overwhelmed in this room. I leave the room. I'm just like, I can't be here. I need some fresh air. Shake it off, and what I've been noticing is, like, all of my friends coming up to me and saying, you're such an example of a really embodied person, and I really admire that about you. And the way that you drop in is something that I really want to cultivate in myself, and I had someone come up to me the other day and say, like, the way that you are embodied helps me to feel more embodied in myself. And I'm
Mm.
like, sheesh, thank you for that reflection, right? Because ultimately that's like what I want is I want to support people around me in this world, right? It's like so much suffering is going on and there's this urge to be of service. But if I get ahead of myself, ahead with the intellectual stuff and try to go fix everything and fix everyone, then oof, I'm going to be causing trouble for myself and others in the world. And a lot of the destruction that we see in the world is the result of people trying to fix things with good intentions, right? And so moving away from that and moving into this practice of embodiment. Can
Mm-hmm.
I return to my breath? Can I return to a sense of relaxation and acceptance and be a pillar of support for myself and others in my life as we move through this whole trippy ass journey?
Peaceful
Mm, 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 mm,
warriors.
mm.
Yeah.
Yay.
Peaceful warriors.
Yeah,
Absolutely. We need peaceful warriors
big time.
in this world.
Big time.
And that's really coming to a moving on to our next phase of
Mm.
this incredible episode,
Woo,
part
woo, woo,
two,
woo.
coming up for you. And the conclusion of all that you shared. Thank you so much, Jake, for
Thank you.
sharing your story. That we really get into a place here of emotional safety
Yeah.
for yourself and for others.
Yeah,
And I
that's the
think we're
words.
very privileged to even be in a space of life that we get to talk about what is to be emotionally safe to
Yeah.
yourself and to other people,
Oh my goodness, yes.
and how important that is in our lives, how
Mm-hmm.
important it is to feel safe within our bodies
Mm-hmm.
and to be a safe space to other people and really
Such a
show
gift.
up into service,
Such a
which is
gift.
what we've been working on together in our mentorship,
Yeah.
is the path of divine service.
Mm.
So as we share Jake's story, I really want you to get all these golden nuggets
Mm-hmm.
and all this magic to inspire you that it is possible
Mm.
for everybody, and we get to learn from each other in
Yes, every
so
day.
many ways, get to continue to be a humble warrior and to really take the best out of community.
Yes,
Yes. So
exactly.
we're going to jump into part two. We're going to take a moment. We're going to jump into part two. But before, I want you to share, Jake, and to have a conclusion of that story, which is what God is leading you now. And
Mm.
obviously, the path never ends.
Yeah.
And you will get to these imposter syndrome spaces of like,
Mm-hmm.
who am I to talk about this? Who am I to help someone else?
Yeah.
And the imposter syndrome is a sign
Mm-hmm.
that you are putting yourself in service.
Yeah.
And if you have that humble courage to continue to be the learner, we get to really do the work that we're here to do. There's no time to waste. We're
Not
here
at all.
to support the world to be a better place. And we created and have Jake's principles and methodologies that we're going
Mm-hmm.
to get to share with you in part two and really give you a lot of tangible support.
Yeah.
But I want you to just kind of name it a little bit, Jake, of this path of divine service for you.
Yeah.
And this being an initiation
Mm-hmm.
of that and sharing that with the world, sharing that with our community, and really expand our networking here.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, what it comes down to for me is this acknowledgement that so much of the beauty and wellness that I've experienced in life is thanks to the life experience of others, right? Whether it's someone who lived thousands of years ago or 10 years ago or is alive today, so much of the wisdom that I've come across has been gifted to me, right? And each of us has so much life experience and wisdom to share. And so my only hope is that anything about the life that I'm moving through might be of service to someone else, right? And so I've been moving through my process and cultivating a depth of heart and a depth of community and all of these things that are so important. And I just want to share, right? And so anyone who is in a space similar to the spaces I've been in, of being very intellectually driven and feeling really connected to the material, but feeling some sense of dissatisfaction or ungroundedness, anxiety, and all of that, there are ways of cultivating a sense of wellness in yourself that is satisfying, right? And the hope is just to expedite that process and to recognize that everyone's got their own path. And that's one of the key beauties of the body wisdom, is that it's your compass, right? You don't anymore need to rely on someone else telling you how to do something and how to move through the world, because you can start to learn to read the language of your own system. So I would never want to tell someone how to do it because I have no idea, right? But just to want to share any practices that I've come across that have been super supportive to me, in case they might be supportive to you.
Yay! I'm so excited. So, can you just name it, your journey that you're going to take us in, just so we really get in tune with the flow of the wisdom and the transmission that's been here?
As in,
Your pillars?
oh, my pillars. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So, y'all, these are inspired by Avatar: The Last Airbender, honestly, in large part. Yeah, kind of a big part of my life. But obviously, the four elements are kind of a fundamental part of reality. They've been a part of a lot of wisdom traditions as well, right? So they're framed around the elements. And the first one is air. And with air, it's the connection to self mastery, right? This principle of, can I learn how to master myself, to tame the monkey mind, and to cultivate a way of navigating the world? And I feel into this analogy of the sailboat, right? Where we are on this sailboat in this ocean, and there are waves crashing, and there's winds blowing, all sorts of things are going on. But we can cultivate a mastery over ourselves, over our capacity to put the sail where it needs to be so that we can go where we want to go. So self-mastery, master yourself, is the first pillar. And the second pillar is connecting to that earth element. And that earth element is that stability, that groundedness, that stillness. And that is the concept of like practicing peace, right? Because peace, I always thought, was something that I would arrive at eventually, but ultimately it's something that needs to be practiced. So practice peace, and then moving into the fire element, which is radiate your authenticity. And that's a big thing for the social anxiety and just for the being present in the world in a beautiful way, is to cultivate that inner fire and to set boundaries in ways that are healthy and all of that. And then with water, surrender to the flow, right? Because life is flowing, and there is a rhythm to it, and there are currents that we can, right? The current moment, it's a current, and so we can flow with that. And then the sort of avatar state, right? This like highest embodiment of ourselves is connection to ether, that which holds all of the elements, and harmonize with life is that pillar. Is, can we harmonize the elements? Can we find what is needed in any given moment, and to show up in the fullest expression of ourselves?
I love that. So let's take a break.
Woo,
If
woo.
you are here, and please comment below how this conversation landed to you. We would love to hear from you. Thank you, Jake Michael,
Thank
for
you.
sharing your story.
Yes, thank you.
And I see you in part 2.
Woo, 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 woo.
Do you have a client name?
Not really.
I call you Jake Michael.
Yeah, I guess either Vicarin or Michael.
There's a big decision, so let's breathe. Who votes Jake Michael?